Okay, so welcome to day 3, session 6. And this evening we are joined by my amazing, incredible friend, Charlotte Pulver. And Charlotte, I wrote this little phrase down for you, which is, I call you my well of wisdom. And I feel like that whenever I've got a problem or an issue and anything related to health, I'm literally ding, 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 ding on the phone to Charlotte. And yeah, I really feel like that you have just so much knowledge in you. And let me just click all these little things off. And so I'm so grateful that you're here today and that you're sharing all of your wisdom and all of your magic with us. So thank you. And Charlotte's been a women's health practitioner for over 20 years, and a lot of you will know her from her medicine work and from her pilgrimages. But she has a deep knowledge around Tibetan medicine and women's health as well. And so I'd love to open our conversation, Charlotte, with just asking you, like, how did you first of all get into the work that you do, and particularly around the women's work as well? Like, what was your avenue? What was your route in?
My route into women's work, healthcare, actually was through personal experience. Um, so when I was 21, I fell pregnant, like literally within days of meeting a new man. And I started immediately going through once I knew I was pregnant, going through quite strong like cramps in the pelvic bowl and the uterine area. And I didn't know what it was. And obviously, if you were going to go to a doctor at that time, they'd flag it up as, oh, is this an ectopic pregnancy, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I did lose the pregnancy, um, and that was after the doctors telling me to have what they call a laparoscopy to see if I did have an ectopic, and indeed to find out what was causing this abdominal cramping. Um, and I remember I was speaking to an osteopath around the time after I miscarried, and she said, "Oh, you should have come to me to check the alignment of your uterus. This is really well known." And then what happened was, through my reading of various literature, I came across something called Mayan abdominal massage. And this whole system of medicine, which comes from Central America, which has been, should I say, still like practiced on the planet for over 5,000 years. Like this incredible system of medicine, which is very gynae focused and very focused on the womb, and teaches you how to align your uterus. And what I found out, what was causing these cramps, is I had something called a retroverted uterus. And so what happens is, a lot of people who have this alignment with the uterus is when they fall pregnant, they go through all this cramping and pain because the uterus, when it's retroverted, is tipped back onto the towards the coccyx, and it's just trying to find its way forward as everything expands and the ligaments start to expand and move around too. So it was through, a very difficult situation that I came to this extremely powerful system of medicine, Mayan medicine, which has got this whole system around the uterus, that I got into women's healthcare through that avenue.
Oh my goodness. Babe, I can't believe it's another story that I don't know about you. And I'm always like, how is there another story that I don't know?
So just to kind of connect it with tomorrow's sessions, which are
Yeah.
going to be taking place. Okay, so I read about these different midwives in Belize and Central America who are working with this beautiful massage, and it's not just a massage which aligns the uterus, but it's also like something called fahas, like different binding of the pelvic bowl to help align the uterus, and castor oil packs and vaginal steaming, all this kind of thing. So I tracked these midwives down, and one of the ladies who was teaching this work in the world was called Dr. Rosita Arvigo, and she's probably in her 80s now. And so I contacted them. I was like, I really want to learn. And this was like over 22 years ago. And they're like, okay, we'll come to England if you organize it. So I organized the first teaching for them to come over, and since then it's grown and grown and grown. And on the first workshop that I helped host and organize, Hilary Lewin turned up, who set up Doula UK, and she'll be talking to more, and I'm sure she'll talk more in depth about this system of medicine. And so yeah, and that's how we met as well.
Oh my God, I love all the connections. It's so powerful, isn't it? And then with all of your work with working with women and working with the menstrual cycle and really connecting, like embodiment is like such a deep part of your work as well. We talk about that a lot, don't we? It's all about like going in and down rather than out and up. And
Yes.
like, what's your like? Why do you feel so passionate about this work? Like, what have you seen that is like you must share it? Like, what is it within you that feels like super alive?
To do with the down being embodied,
Yeah,
you
being
mean?
embodied, definitely being embodied, and also like any part of like the women's work that you share as well.
Okay, sure. Well, I feel to immediately talk about anointing, actually. Yeah. So, okay, so for those who don't know me, the main background in medicine I work with is the medical system of alchemy. Okay, that word is used a lot. It's quite a trendy word, like alchemizing this and that, and essentially inner transformation, in which way people are using it linguistically at the moment. But it's actually a system of medicine, and it's extremely ancient and kind of has its roots in Egypt, but they think that it actually arose on this planet through many cultures, probably at the same time, like collective consciousness. But it's like ancient, 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 ancient. And I'm going to just explain to you a little bit about it and where the importance of anointing comes in, and the importance of embodiment, about moving down into your body. Because in our culture, I'm sure you're all aware of this, in our Western culture, there's this we're kind of brought up in a culture which wants us to like expand and go out of our bodies, like go over there to get that information, or be outside of our bodies to fix things, but never about going down and in. Okay, and I'm going to explain to you why and where this comes from. And it's kind of also very much in Christianity as well, which Christianity really has absorbed many of the alchemical practices and rituals. And so those who have maybe experienced Christianity like at school or in the early days of their lives probably did these like rituals such as communion, and you didn't even know what they meant. And they're not explained to us. And I think that a lot of the sort of priests today don't even understand the roots to them, but I'm going to explain it to you. Okay. So in alchemy, you work with the 3 levels of consciousness. Okay. In Christianity, they call it the Holy Trinity. All right. But this is also present in Tibetan medicine and also in Ayurveda. A lot of people are aware of Ayurveda, the 3 doshas. It's all the same. Okay, so in alchemy, the 3 levels of consciousness are soul, spirit, and body. Okay? And another thing to understand about alchemy is, I mean, a lot of people ask, like, what is this? What is it really? Because a lot of people think is it like alchemizing lead to gold? It's not that. That's just an analogy, a metaphor. But what it is, I'll tell you what it is. It's about observing consciousness, of how consciousness embodies into matter, like our bodies, how our consciousness embodies into our bodies when we're born, and then it leaves when we die. Okay, so it's understanding these huge cycles of creation in nature, and that nature is within us. There's no separation. What is within is without, okay? And what is above is below. That's it in a nutshell, okay? All right, so back to the Trinity, soul, spirit, and body. All right, so like I said, what is within us is without us, okay? So in the system of medical alchemy, the soul of a plant is viewed as the oil, okay? So you know all those beautiful essential oils that we have access to. You're literally working with the soul consciousness of a plant, like extremely precious, okay? So you could say that the soul is heaven, okay? It's the heavenly realm, of consciousness within this Holy Trinity. After soul, what we have is spirit. And within nature and within medical alchemy, the spirit of a plant is seen as the alcohol, okay? So when something dies, like an apple falls to the ground and starts to decay, naturally starts to decompose, it releases a beautiful liquid in its death, okay? And that is the alcohol. The liquid is the fermentation of the sugars, and it starts to form an alcohol. So in this decomposition, the spirit of a plant is released in the alcohol, and that's why alcohols traditionally were always called spirit, because they are the spirit. They are the spirit consciousness of the plant. And if we, as a culture, understood that and really, really recognized that, then we'd all be drinking very differently when we'd engage with alcohol, okay? And then finally, so you got soul, the spirit, and then you have the body, okay? So the body is seen as tea, as food, okay? When we drink that tea, it's really of like a plant. Right now, the hawthorn is in bloom. If we're drinking that hawthorn, it is all those antioxidants are really fueling our blood, and hawthorn is amazing for the heart. It's going into our body and nourishing our body. Okay, so soul is the heaven aspect. Spirit, we spoke about that as the alcohol. That is the bridge. Spirit is the bridge between heaven and earth. Okay, so I'm going to explain it to you why we're not really, even in the main religion of Christianity, which is obviously very huge in the Western world, is why even in the spirituality which has been, kind of in many ways forced upon us, because it's also very much integrated in our culture, why even the rituals, they're all about doing a ritual which is about going up. And I'll explain to you. Okay, so in Holy Communion, when they give you the bread and the wine, the bread is the body aspect of the three bodies of consciousness. The bread is the body. The spirit is the wine, okay? So when you take the bread in and you drink the wine, it's about opening your body and your spirit to go up, to expand your soul and go up. That's what this ritual is about. And a long time ago, this is pre-Christianity, it was very common to use oils, okay, to anoint someone in ritual, okay, to use the soul of the plants to anoint yourself. And what it's about is about bringing heaven to your body and bringing that heavenly aspect down and bringing heaven down into the body. Oils in Christianity aren't used readily as much as they used to be. It's only used for big transitions in one's life, such as baptism, ordination of priests and kings. It's only used for very select moments in life. And the importance of using these oils, if you're really working with, the consciousness of plants and alchemy, is I say oils are to be used on a more regular basis about bringing that heaven down into your body, okay? And with the female cycle, we're always going through these transitions, these many transitions, these four transitions in the summer, in ovulation, and the luteal phase, and the menstruation. We are going as through every month, if we don't conceive, this transition, okay? And it's the perfect time to use oils to help you through that transition, to help that embodiment happen. So as I said, in Christianity today, they only use oils for those major transitions within the Christian faith. Interesting, it's used for transitions. So I say make this a normal thing of the anointing and bring back this beloved practice about bringing heaven down into the body, which is all about the feminine mind. Okay, you probably heard about this, like within the tradition of Mary Magdalene. Okay, and the women really held this practice with the anointing of oils. So I really encourage you to get involved with the oils to help you through these transitions, and it will really help you get more into your body. And another thing to say, because I said in alchemy, what is within is without. Okay, so this is going into quite big concepts, and I don't expect you to believe what I'm saying. I just invite you to just listen and see if it resonates with you. Okay, because we're talking about soul and spirit here. In alchemy, it's understood that the soul is held within the nervous system, okay? That our nervous systems are the vessels of our minds, okay? And our minds are our consciousness. And another word in some cultures of consciousness is the soul, okay? So the soul is held within the vessel of the nervous system, okay? Another big concept to talk about is that the spirit part, the bit that bridges your soul into your body, is in your bloodstream, okay? So I said, what is within and is without? Okay, so it's a beautiful thing that the soul within a plant is the essential oil, okay? And guess what? It's the nervous system, the brain, which receives the oils the best, you know? So when you are anointing yourself with these oils or using essential oils in your daily practice and lives, it is your nervous system which holds your own soul, which is going to receive them very deeply. Of course, we know that certain smells have a massive effect on our brains and nervous systems, but actually the properties within the oil are really soaked up by the nervous system, which is the vessel of your soul. So yeah, that's a little bit on embodiment in relation to
Oh my God,
anointing.
so deep, so deep. We're really in.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's amazing to have such a wider perspective as well. Because for me, it's like I created an anointing ritual for the oils, but without even really knowing the depth of what you've shared there, but just knowing in my body that it feels that it needs to be done. And which of the oils is your favorite?
Well, my favorite oil is the one that is, let's see, where is in autumn, and we're in autumn today. Yeah, I mean, maybe in my younger years I might not have been as comfortable during inner autumn, during the luteal phase of my life, but now I'm really I feel very good during the luteal phase. When the progesterone goes up, I'm just I feel fantastic. After ovulation, the progesterone grows up. I just feel so calm and yeah, deeply creative. That's just where I'm at. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Let me have a good smell of it to remind myself.
Mm.
Yeah, it just feels really comforting.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love for you to talk a bit more about the luteal phase and then go into your teaching and sharing that.
Yeah, let's go more in depth about the moon, which is very connected to our inner moon. So, menstruation. So, mena is a Greek word, but guess what it means, Chloe? You'll be happy to know what this means. It means my power. Yeah, because I know your work is called MYMOON Power. So yeah, it means my power. Okay, so the menstruation is a woman's power. It's her cauldron of creativity. Okay, and this cauldron of a creativity, this cycle is like we spoke about earlier on about alchemy. What is within is without. Okay, our little microcosm of our beautiful menstruation cycle is connected to the greater cycle of the moon and the seasons as well on a deeper level, and the ocean and the tides. So our cycle is directly connected to that. So I would love to share about the moon cycle in relation to what the macrocosm is communicating to us according to when we start our bleed. Okay, so some of you may have heard that a lot of information about what is your creativity communicating to you when you bleed on the new moon, or what is your creativity communicating when you bleed on the full moon. People are very much sort of really focused on that axis of the moon cycle, but not talking about the other 26 phases of the moon and leaving them all out. And the thing is, what that communicates to us is expecting that we all should have this cycle where we bleed on the full moon or we bleed on the new moon, okay? Which is actually quite patriarchal in some ways of putting us in a box. And we have to step out of that box and realize we don't all should fit into the same cycle, and that all the other phases of the moon are extremely important to learn about and understand what they're communicating on the deeper level of what the macrocosm is communicating to us about our inner consciousness and our creativity in what is stirring, what is wanting to be explored and embodied. So I'm going to share with you a little image that I just drew today. Okay, let's see if I can remember how to do this. All right. No, that's not it. Excuse me for a moment. I'm just trying to find how to share this image. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Right. Let's do this. Okay. Is it going to work? Did that work?
Not yet. Do you need me
No.
to talk you through it again?
Okay.
Oh yeah, now it's working. Got it.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. All right. So we have 3 different cyclical maps, all right? I just explained them to you all in case there's someone who's not aware of these maps. And it's always good that we go back to basics and review it all, because you can always learn so much from these maps. It's like constant treasure hunting, really. I love a good map because it lead you to good treasure in life, and they're endless, amounts of medicine in them. Okay,
Mm.
so we got two different cyclical maps. We have the moon phase. So you see 8 moons here, all right? The black moon is the new moon, and you see the word waxing, and as you go to the right, it is waxing, the first crescent moon and onwards, all right? And it's just these 8 moons are just representing the whole cycle of 28 moons. So we're not ignoring the other 20 moons, just so you know.
Mm.
Just couldn't draw them all. All right. And behind the moon cycle, I've kind of written the deeper seasons which are aligned with those moons. So am I right in guessing everyone present here today is from the UK? Is that right? So what I'm going to be sharing here is to do with the indigenous seasonal cycles, which are indigenous to these lands. So they have like different names, which you may or may not have heard, but I'll explain to you like what the dates where they fall around. So winter solstice, this is behind the new moon. It's in alignment with that new moon. So it's winter. Chloe talks about this too with her oils. So that is the most yin point of the year, the least amount of light hours. It is very fitting with a new moon of no light. Okay. So moving forward, we go to that crescent moon when it starts to grow. That's Imbolc. Okay, so that's first spring. So we're not into the full height of spring yet, but we're just in that midpoint, Imbolc, which means in the belly. It's a Celtic word. 1st of February. And then we have the spring equinox. That's equal light hours and night hours. So it's perfect for that half waxing moon. We have Beltane. That is the time of fertility. We're kind of in the phase of Beltane now still. And then the full moon is the summer solstice. That's the maximum amount of light, daylight on the planet. Perfect for a full moon. And then as we start to wane, the moon starts to wane after the full moon, we have Lammas, which is a harvest festival in between harvest festival, between the summer solstice and the autumn equinox, that roughly falls around the 1st of August. Then we have the autumn equinox, again across the whole planet, equal hours of light and dark. Everyone is experiencing that on the planet. Perfect for that half waning moon. And then Samhain is around the 31st of October. That's that waning last crescent moon before it's the dark moon, and then starting at the new moon again. Okay, so we're going to talk about these archetypes, these words that I've written next to the moon, and we're gonna link it all in explaining what it is our cycles are telling us when we bleed on these various moons. Because the macrocosm is communicating something so precious to us, and if we have time to note, to look up what's going on with the moon on the day that we start to bleed, it can tell us so much about our creativity. It's like being, should we say, on the phone to the universe and going, okay, this is the memo for today. You know what I mean? This is the memo for your cycle. Okay. And the thing is, not every woman has a 28-day cycle. So how can you expect to always bleed on the same moon? So it's really important to know about all the other moons. Okay. It's very common that women have a cycle anywhere from day 25 to 35. It's really healthy. So let's get to know about all the other moons and what is being communicating from the universe to our universe. Okay, well, so we're going to start on the new moon. And what I'm also going to share with you all is the internal medicine that you can take to really honor that cycle, and really allows you to tune in to more of that inner power and what is wishing to be explored and embodied. And I'll explain it to you, it will start to make sense. So with the new moon, if you find that you're bleeding on this new moon period, so I've written the archetype of the woman, which is the end. So these archetypes really are just expressing all the phases of one's life as a woman. But we go through that, like, in our bodies, with our menstruation cycle, like every month. But if we're to tap into on a deeper level with the moon, so if you happen to bleed on the new moon, okay, so there's no moonlight, okay, you're in the place of the ancestor, you're on the other side, okay, it's the winter solstice time, it's when the earth is taking that deep breath inwards, it's a place of deep dream time to really tune in to your dreams, okay. What wishes to be really cultivated, just really listen and really give yourself permission for the next phase of your cycle, just to really be in contact with your intentions, your wishes, your dreams. So to help you, if you wish to really kind of tune in more to that when you're menstruating, is a really beautiful plant to work with. And it's really simple, because we're going to work with the plants of those times of the year, is mistletoe. Okay, so mistletoe is beautiful to take anyway when you have your menstruation. It's deeply relaxing. It's very relaxing of the uterus. It's good for pain as well, and you feel really, actually really euphoric, but in a really in your body kind of grounded way. It brings in a lot of light, and it's a plant which is very part of the dreaming and of the other side, if that makes sense. Okay. All right, so let's explore that waxing crescent moon. Okay. So the maiden, you probably heard a lot about the maiden is connected to Imong. Okay, well, it's very much the maiden moon is this crescent moon. The moon is starting her new cycle of growing. That beautiful first crescent is so stunning to see those moons in the sky when they're like that. It's like a sickle. And the new light is coming back within the moon, reflected back to us in new cycles. So it's really about really feeling more into your dreams, your creativity, really allowing yourself full permission to really listen to your heart's deepest desires and wishes. Okay, if you bleed on that waxing crescent, that is what the universe is inviting you to really harness within yourself, and a beautiful plant to imbibe. And so when I say imbibe, I mean like the best ones are homeopathic, or to make yourself just a really a gentle tea. Or I do make very beautiful mead drops, which are very wonderful to work with as well, and you only take them in a homeopathic amount as well. So a beautiful plant to work with during the waxing crescent is primrose. It grows this time of the year, the beginning of February, but it's also really good for the nervous system. It's very balancing of a very jittery nervous system, which is, can be quite present in one's maiden archetype as well. Really helps you to relax more into yourself and to harness those dream wishes. Okay, so now moving on to the spring equinox. So this is the waxing half moon. All right, so the archetype of the female in our life cycle in the half moon is a huntress. Okay, so the huntress is someone who's getting to know her boundaries. All right, she's coming moving beyond puberty, and having to harness that incredible life force which puberty brings, all the, you know, new sexual hormones, and knowing how to draw her sword and understand her no, and how to protect herself, because the goddess is not all just love and light. She knows when to draw her sword when necessary. So the huntress, a very skilled huntress, you know, knows how to protect herself, knows her no, and knows how to shoot her arrow of intent, and start to manifest in the world what her dreams, which have been cultivated in the maiden, in the crescent moon. So the plants to be working with, to help you really access that deeper wisdom, if you know you find yourself bleeding on this half waxing moon, where the universe is kind of saying, okay, let's explore where you need to be having boundaries in your life right now. Where do you need your no? Where do you need your self-preservation and protection? The beautiful plants to work with, oh my god, I love these ones, is alder, ALDER. You probably find that more as a vibrational remedy. It's a very balancing tree essence to be working with. And so alder is the tree of the spring equinox, and it really balances fire and water within the body perfectly. And then another plant to be working with again, which balances fire and water within the body, again that like half moon vibe, is violet. Exceptionally brilliant, and really helps you to harness the energy of the huntress and help you to feel really safe in your body, and joyful, and to know that you can ground your sensitivities as a woman in the world. So if you happen to find yourself bleeding on this more of this waxing moon, just, you know, before it becomes its full moon phase, you're really in the place of the lover archetype. You're in the Beltane phase, like, you know, that mid-spring point before summer. So this is a time in a woman's life where she's really exploring union with another or others, or just even with herself, you know, and exploring more of her sexuality of union. That even could be union with, you know, if she's wishing to be celibate, union with nature, union with God, or however you wish to communicate it in the world. So it's just a deep lover energy. And if you find yourself bleeding on this moon, you know, the universe is inviting you to, what is it you wish to really unite in your life with your creativity? Where does your creativity need to be channeled, you know, more directed in union and embodied? So the plants to really help access that is hawthorn. It's very much the plant of this tide. It's a natural aphrodisiac, but it also really protects the heart, both emotionally and physically. And it's an aphrodisiac, but it's also wonderfully protective. So, you know, it gives you those wonderful boundaries as well, like kind of bringing that huntress energy in, embodying that from the previous cycle. And moving into the full moon, this is the time of the height of summer. So if you find yourself bleeding on the full moon, the universe is, the macrocosm is, you know, really telling you that it's time to really birth those gifts in the world, you know. And you may find you naturally are just naturally birthing your gifts in the world, really, really sharing them. So a beautiful plant to be working with is the rose. The rose is, it's an extremely feminine plant, but it also is really great, like female gynae plant as well. It just really works on the hormonal cycle, and it's very protective of the uterus. It just helps you really align your head, heart, and womb together. So perfect for the mother archetype, because you want to kind of be aligned in that way if you're going to be sharing your creativity in the world and birthing it through. So like I said, you can make your own teas, have some, rose tea during this time. And all the things that I'm recommending as plants, they are really good to be drinking during menstruation. They won't be too intense, or just be very nourishing, if that makes sense. So moving to the, okay, so now we're going to be on the waning phase of the moon cycle, the other half, when the moon is starting to wane. And it's interesting because in our culture, we're all about the first half that I spoke about, this growing waxy moon, spring and summer. But our culture doesn't really like the autumn and winter time of life, and I have a feeling, and you might all agree with me, it really fears these aspects of woman, these archetypes. And so I feel it's really important that I share with you the immense wisdom which has been communicated to us if you find yourself bleeding on these phases of the moon. Okay, so when the moon starts to wane, we're in the moon of harvest, actually. Harvest time is the beginning of August. The Celtic name for it is Lammas or Lunasa. The archetype is the weaver, okay? The weaver is someone who's so adept at creating and weaving her dreams into reality. Like I said, it's the harvest time. That is the time when the everything is just coming into this huge fruit. Everything's fruiting in abundance. The fields are full of the wheat. It's time to revel in the fruits of nature. So as you can see on the opposite side of the weaver, we have the maiden. That's where the dreams are first planted, that waxing crescent moon. On the other side of her, she is in her weaver phase. She is so adept at bringing her dreams into full embodiment. So a beautiful plant to internally work with, like drink as tea or take homeopathic drops, is mugwort, actually, and it grows in abundance that time of year. And mugwort is very much connected to the dream world. So and it's incredibly good for the nervous system when you just need to take it in a very weak tea or homeopathic amount in drop form. And it's so good for the nervous system. It's deeply relaxing, and it also really nourishes the uterus. And it's also still connected to that dream time side. So yeah, it helps you still to kind of have that flow of creativity with your dreams and birthing them through and weaving them and embodying them and creating them. The weaver is adept at manifesting. Okay. Then moving on to that waning half moon. So we're into autumn now. The height of autumn is autumn equinox. And this is the wise woman. Opposite the wise woman is the huntress. She's getting used to her power, the huntress, and her no and her boundaries. On the opposite side of one cycle is the wise woman. She's adept. She's very adept by this time in her life with knowing who she is, really accepting who she is, and really happy in her own skin, and very, not afraid of her shadow, her darkness. She wouldn't even call it shadow or darkness. It's all just there to be met in the unfolding moment. So the plants to be working with, a nice one which is nice to drink if you find yourself menstruating on the waning half moon, is yarrow, and it grows this time of year and is abundant. So yarrow is just incredibly good for embodiment. It's a wonderful plant of cultivating the most excellent, impeccable boundaries. And she's very much, the yarrow is very much the spirit of this. It's very just wise woman. So beautiful to have a yarrow tea. And yarrow is just so beautiful to drink when you've got your menstruation. It's really good for pain. It's just deeply relaxing and wonderfully euphoric as well. It makes you feel good. Um, I mean, outside of menstruation, yarrow is really good to drink if you're like coming on with a flu. It makes flu really feel yummy. If the flu ever had to feel yummy, it's just got this beautiful euphoria about it. It makes you feel so comfortable in your skin. Okay, and on to the final part of the moon cycle. We have that final crescent moon in its waning phase before the dark moon. This is that midpoint between autumn and winter. So this is the crone aspect. So you can see on the opposite side of the cycle is the lover. So the lover is in her full fertility. On the opposite side, she's not in her fertility. You know, she's past perimenopause, but she knows herself inside out. She knows her shadow, and it's a very liminal place. So is the lover as well. But it's that depth of wisdom and being so connected to herself and the other side. And it's when you're in your crone, it's like all your power has been embodied within. You are just in a place of being invited to really hold your inner power and wisdom, and to be in quite an ecstatic, celebratory place, and very connected to the ancestors, and very much in your wise woman. So a beautiful plants to be using that time of the year is actually tea trees I'd recommend. So if you find yourself bleeding on this waning moon before it's dark with that little crescent, and you'd really like to be connected into that depth of magic and medicine within yourself, I would say look to the apple tree, and you may like to look at the yew tree, but only get a vibrational a remedy of the yew, or someone who, like myself, who makes it in droplets, because there's certain ways to work with the yew. I would not go off and make tea from it because the tree is poisonous. So please take great note of that. The only part of the tree which is not poisonous is the red berries, which only come once a year in around October. But you have to take every seed out very carefully because the seed's poisonous. So it's a tree of great reverence, and it's the tree which is connected to the eternal forces. It's connected to the ancestors. This tree is one of the rare beings on the world which has the capacity to grow forever, and they are very grow forever. Some of them, I mean, there's some in Scotland which are 9,000 years old. Anyway, there we go. I've given you some maps to work with and seek deeper treasure. And I really invite you to note where the moon is when you start your next bleed, and look to this map and see what the macrocosm is communicating to you, to your microcosm of your creativity, and inviting you to come into deeper connection and embodiment with. Okay. All right, let's see if I can take this off now. Give me a moment. All right. Has it gone?
No, it's the little red button, the stop sharing.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for guiding me
Oh my goodness, so rich, so deep. I mean, I literally can't wait to have my period to find out where I am. And in the
there.
My Moon Power set, I've also created a map on the back of the little leaflet, so you can actually fill out the moon um, in relationship to where you are in your cycle, so you can actually track it with the moon, and then of course refer back to this video so that you can figure out what your bleed time on the moon means.
Exactly. Yeah. So at the moment, just, we can talk about ourselves here, is I don't have a 28-day cycle. I've never have. I've always had a 31 day, always my whole life. And so I'm never going to always bleed on the same moon. So you do slowly, if you don't have a 28-day cycle, do slowly move around the whole moons. So at the moment, my last bleed time was on the full moon. But I'm not always going to be on the full moon, So it's great that we look to the sky, or if we don't know what it's doing because the sky is cloudy in the UK, we can just, you find it on Google, just type moon in the date and UK, and it'll tell you the phase it's in.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Charlotte. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Oh, love it. I love it. I'm learning so much in every talk. It's the best.
Should we, should we just open up for questions if anyone's got questions, or maybe it's just a lot to go away with, to absorb and refer back to that map and make notes and stuff like that. But I invite questions, and so feel free to just put them in the comments. And just to complete, if anyone wants to learn more about these plants, I hold medicine making days throughout all the seasons. Coming up, like I said, summer solstice, I'll be working in depth with the rose. That's the plant I told you to drink if you find yourself bleeding on the full moon. So yeah, I teach medicine making days. I make tinctures. You're so welcome to get in touch in those realms. And I also will be hosting Chloe over the summer, which I can't wait. What we're calling Women of the Wells. And the first phase of Women of the Wells is going to be shared in Somerset with the Glastonbury Springs of the Red and the White Spring. So that will be coming out soon. We intend to hold a day one in July and one in August. So yeah, just look for it online, or feel free to email me and I can send you the details when it's ready. So what happens on these days is we connect to the consciousness of water, and it's especially when you start to connect with these very powerful springs, it's very balancing, very, very, very balancing, and deeply moving. And I'll be sharing the in-depth lore of the red and white spring, which a lot of people have forgotten. So yeah, should I just leave my email address for people to get in touch if they want?
I'll put that in the.
Okay, cool.
So we have a question that's come through. I've been through menopause at 42. I'm 51 now. Do you feel the mother still experiences these phases after menopause?
Yeah, you do experience these phases because you're still connected to the moon. So but in a wonderful place, in the place of menopause, you can explore it all whenever you want. Like you can be, working with these oils, working with these internal remedies to take during the whole full moon cycle if you wish to. But also by that time when you're through menopause, like you're in that place of deeper embodiment, in your body, and you can make the choice just by knowing yourself of like, oh, I feel that this is really resonating, this aspect of a woman for me to be really nurturing right now. And that might be the maiden within your, even though you're in your menopause phase, that might be like, I really just want to harness my dream time more right now. Okay, let me use the inner spring oil to help me with that, and let me drink some primrose tea. Does that make sense? So you get to make, so it's like your body's not so directed by the phases of the moon and the rhythms of nature. You make that choice. So yeah, you're more in a place of command, if that makes sense.
Beautiful. And on the MYMOON Power oils as well, there's an inner season, but then there's also a phase of the moon too. So if you are in menopause, or if you aren't bleeding for any reason, you would then follow the moon phases as well. So you can work with the oils that way too.
Yeah.
Any other questions before we close? I think we're good, aren't we?
Yeah.
Great. Any other final bits that you wanted to share, Charlotte? Really good.
I think so. Just okay, one more question. Okay. So I'm just going to read out the question so for everyone. I have not been able to have children and therefore struggle to connect with the mother phase. I'm 44 and have always had regular 28 to 38-day bleeds. Okay, so still note the time, what the moon cycle is when you're bleeding, because so for example, if you happen to be, because you said you have a regular cycle, if you happen to be bleeding on the new moon, during that time, really harness your wishes and desires. And it's like you have a, a phone to the universe. Ask the universe for what you want, pray for it, okay? Or pray for the support or assistance with whatever it is, if you indeed are wanting to really be able to conceive, and move into the mother phase in your life. So still like harness and work with the moons in the way that I have shared in depth right now. And then in relation to you say the struggle to connect with the mother phase, I would, if you want to work more in depth there, you can, work more with rose, bring just rose into your life on a regular basis, drink the tea, take the tincture, and anoint yourself with the you can anoint yourself outside of the ovulatory phase with the summer oil as well. Does that make sense? Because there's so many different ways in which we can work with these oils and imbibing these plants as well.
And another way also to look at the inner summer and the mother phase is to also call in the creatrix as well, because the mother is creation. So even if we haven't had children, even if we've not physically birthed a child into the world, we're always creating. So for example, like with these oils, the MYMOON Power ones, that is my baby that I've birthed out into the world. That is pure mother energy, creation energy that has come out. So that's another way to be able to build a relationship with that phase too.
Totally. Like if you find yourself bleeding on the full moon, it's really about birthing and sharing your gifts in the world. The macrocosm is asking that of you. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Charlotte. I just adore you. And just again, I mean, what do I call you? Well of wisdom. Can you all understand now why this name is so perfect for her? But thank you so much for going into such detail and depth, and just bringing such another layer to this work. It's so powerful, and I'm so grateful for you and all that you share. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, beautiful women, for joining us. I'm sending you all so much love. And then tomorrow we will be back again. And our first session tomorrow at 1 will be with Hilary. So we'll see you then. Much love. Bye.
Chloe, are you still there? Hello. Hi. You need to be on.